Good,
looking
good.
dashing in your headgear there, my brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Always a pleasure to connect. And you, how you
Fantastic.
doing?
I'm very well. I'm very well. And thank you for gracing us with your presence. It's always a pleasure to reconnect and to hear something from the real guru of productivity. So maybe just by way of introduction, even as we have a few more people joining us. Uh, So this is our third week, the beginning of our third week of a process that I'm running together with the BimaLab's cohort. And what we have covered the last couple of weeks really is focused around successful startup. Uh, and that relationship is ensuring that you convert your technology into money, which is something I'm sure you recognize well. So in the first week, we went into some of those fundamentals of sales. We were blessed with the presence of one of the region's bigwigs in the insurance industry. This was the CEO for Old Mutual Group in East Africa. And basically what he talked to us about is what he's looking for uh, when he's looking for technology and the kind of stuff that would catch his ear, given the challenges he has running a business of that size when itself or the partnerships that their companies bring to the table. And then last week we had a different engagement similar to what we are doing with today. But last week was uh, again a fantastic conversation with two founders of technology companies. One guy started many years ago, grew his company, and he has even gone to the point of flipping his company to a global company. He actually sold out to Google across 16 countries. So again, and I'm sure for many guys here, that is probably the kind of thing that you can only dream about. And the other guy is somebody who pivoted from employment and went, uh, full throttle into business for himself, a technology business, and actually does financial services and insurance. So he's a bit probably further down the line as compared to some of the people here. But again, very interesting conversations there. And this week we really talk about productivity. And the reason I thought this would be a critical conversation for the cohort is because, especially when you are a startup, the technology is just a part of what it is that you do. If you cannot create the DNA to get things done at all levels, so whether it's at individual level, at organization level, you tend to come unstuck pretty quickly. Your runway of financing runs out. You find yourself doing the things that you're comfortable doing and not, talking to some of the hard stuff that must be done to keep alive. And, next thing you know, your business is closing down. So this week, it is my pleasure to have you, Landry. The guys have read a bit about your bio, so they have a bit of background on you and what it is that you have done. But I would really like to start this conversation by you probably introducing yourself in your own words. How has your journey been to where you are now?
Okay. Thanks, Forrest. I hope these people call you Forrest, not Andrew.
They know. Some of them,
Yeah.
I did introduce myself as such a few months
Okay.
ago. And
Okay.
yeah, I think that they figured it out now. And I'll do it
I hope
again.
I hope they know that. All right. So again, so first is to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to the guys here. Guys, good afternoon or good evening, as the case may be. wherever you are. It's a pleasure, always a pleasure to share this bit, and particularly special thanks to you, Forrest, for having me. It's actually interesting. My second time of speaking to a cohort of BimaLabs. I did speak to the cohort sometime last year as well. And the topic that you are asking that we speak on is one that is quite close to my heart, and I find super interesting. In terms of background, I mean, I don't know. People are not using their cameras. I like engagement, especially in these virtual things. But I just said hello in the chat box, so guys can drop that. So I like to have conversations. So about me briefly, um, hmm, I can be. So from a career perspective, I think maybe like some of people here, that guy come out of university, not sure what really I wanted, none of those ones that really didn't have, I always envy people who from when they were kids, they wanted to be pilots or something. I didn't know I wanted to be, I just wanted to have money, period. So I
And
just,
what you haven't said is that you majored in biology of all things.
yes.
So
That was I majored in biology, genetics. I went to University of Lagos, so typical. I didn't grow up in Lagos, by the way. I was born and raised in Ibadan. For the Nigerians that are here, I've seen a few of them, but came to Lagos for university. I went to secondary school in Warri. Nigerians will understand that mix. And then so came out of school and just wanted a job. Back then, I'm talking 1991, I did youth service 1991 to 92. Banking was the thing, got a job as a cashier in a bank, did that, just doing what I was told. After a while, my manager felt I was not detailed enough and put me on the beat to go. I'll be selling people to open accounts with the bank. And I did that. And that's, I think, when I started my sales journey. I did that, moved to another bank, then later moved. So in my first 10 years of my work, I worked in financial services. I worked in logistics. I worked in a pharmaceutical company. Then I moved into IT in a company called Resourcery. Some of you may know them. And that's when I got exposed to IT, And in year 2000, I got the privilege to start Microsoft Nigeria with Kunle Aoshika. Some of you may also know he's one of the leading executives in Microsoft today. And that was just a phase. One thing I'll say is that everything I had learned in the different industry I'd worked sort of like came together in that journey. So starting the business of Microsoft in Nigeria. And after 5 years of doing that, and I think we did okay, grew the business from 200,000 to $21 million in 5 years. With some other people, the team grew. I then was moved to South Africa, the regional office, to lead a team that was focused on working on some countries that were like least developed in Africa. We didn't have technology or didn't have Microsoft presence. And I did that for a year. Eventually, then was moved to Kenya to be the lead for public sector in East and Southern Africa. So 14 countries, really exciting stuff for me, very great part of my life. I mean, part of it is Forrest here, that we became brothers over that journey, our journeys in Microsoft. I'm sure he shared his own as well. So so that's me. Then I mean, after having seen all I saw on the continent, there's that bug that you get. I think some of you have got it. That's why you are trying to start your own company. I got that bug, but in terms of what to do, one of the things I realized was we had sold a lot of technology on the continent, but then I realized that technology alone didn't do it. It's about people, and it's about people changing their behavior or having the right behavior to leverage technology to achieve what they wanted. I didn't know what that really meant until a company that had done training for us in Microsoft. One of the people we had met in one of those trips, I started chatting with him. He also left, and he had joined this company called McGee Productivity Solutions, based out of Denver in Colorado. And that's what changed my life. So I went to this company, and for 3 years, I trained with them to be a productivity consultant and a productivity executive coach. 3 years. This is after working for 17 years. And part of the deal was to start the company's business in Africa and Middle East. So business development is something I've always known to do, but really learning how to understand human being and human performance, human productivity was something. For 3 years I was training with these guys, and I was training people. I was still living in South Africa, doing training in Kenya, Nigeria, across the continent. And that's it. That was gave birth to my company. So I first started with that company as an independent consultant. After 3 years, we had a deal where I bought over the Africa business, and then grew that and continued that as my own company, Integral Assets. And in 2012, 2011, thereabout, I met another ex-Microsoft who had been with Microsoft in the States, Nigerian lady called Adetayo Kusoya. She also started a company in the US and then moved to Nigeria. And over a period of 3 years, we worked together and then merged our companies to create HC Bonham. So that's what we do now. HC Bonham then, since has grown beyond being a productivity company, we're now a performance consulting company, doing business across the continent, mainly 8 countries where we have customers. We've also had to be able to do work in the UK, in the UAE, in the US. Interestingly, during COVID, we got our first American customer. So what we do now is generally understand human performance. So help organizations understand what does it take for you to perform, and performance meaning achieving your set objectives. And we do this through different means. So leadership development programs, we design and implement them, performance consulting, coaching, conferences and strategy. So so long as there's a human capital element involved, that's why our company's name is HC Bonham, Human Capital Bonham. So that for me, it's been a journey. So from 2008 till now is when I've had that opportunity to run my business. Interestingly, I'm having my August monthly review with my team in my house. That I just left them now to come speak to you guys. So I guess that's it. I don't know if there's any aspect of the journey to share, but I really enjoy what I do. I really, really love it. I've been blessed with a great team, mainly young people, and we have been blessed with very good customers as well. Some of them have been our customers for 12 years, the same customers, and we still keep getting business from them. Yeah. I think that's
fantastic. Fantastic, Landry. And by the way, I didn't even know that you participated in last year's cohort. So that, I guess, it says a lot about your your importance to this program. That it's I mean, fantastic. Going back to something that you said earlier, which will lead me to my next question. But let me start by saying this. One of the reasons why I have you here, apart from you being a good and close personal friend, is the impact you had when you took me through this whole productivity thing, the impact you had in my life and my ability to kind of really refocus my energies on what was important. And that's what I think, even if we are to get a fraction of that across in this week as we continue to engage with the guys, I think that would be important. But you touched on something earlier, which is, you talked about some of the stuff that you do, objective setting, strategy, performance, whether it's individual or organizational. And that is actually the crux of what it is that we are talking about now in the course of this week. How important it is to cascade, to have everybody in the company singing off the same hymn book, as they like to say. But anyway, let me put it in your own words. My question is to you, Landry. How important is it for the success of an organization to be productive? I'll leave it at that.
I think look, if an organization is not productive, here is what I think. You are wasting energy and wasting time. That is just as simple as that. Productivity is simply defined as consistently doing those things that enable you achieve your desired objectives. And I think that when we set up businesses, we have objectives, whether you want to launch, you want to grow market share, you want to increase revenue, you want to increase profitability. There's always something you are trying to do. And being productive is having everybody to. So if what you are doing is not contributing to the achievement of the company's objectives, then you are not working. If every activity, even the camaraderie we have as colleagues, right, which is where it goes to teamwork, even that, it's not just because we want to have it, it's because it influences our business results. Look, it's a business, not a family meeting. It's not a Harambe, we have come to achieve something. This business is objective. So it's important, like you said, for us, that everybody is singing off the same hymn sheet. And that is something that is the job of the leader of the business to ensure that it happens. And there are a number of things you have to do and keep doing. I understand as somebody starting a business, you have worked on yourself. You have this desire. You know how to do what you do. But the moment you bring somebody on, even if the person is a business partner, the moment somebody else is involved in you achieving your business objectives, there are certain things that change you must do. There is your personal productivity. And you see that the principles are the same. You need to be clear. You need to set goals. If you don't set goals, you are guessing. It's as simple as that. You need to set goals. In the same way, big corporates go ahead and do a strategy session and set goals. No matter how small your business is, you also need to set goals. You may not take 5 days. You can take 5 hours. But that is where it all starts from. And in HC Bonham, we promote simplicity. We take, let's keep it simple. Even when we work for our big multinational customers, the simplicity, the same way we work with you as a small company, the same way we work with that big company. 4 things, and I'm sure some of these you guys are familiar with. What is the revenue you want to achieve in this period that you are planning for? Whether it's a quarter, a half year, 1 year. What is the revenue? How much money, income do you want to have? You must determine that. So if the balance scorecard format, so the 4 pillars: financial, customer, internal operations, and people. That's it. So, but from a personal perspective, you can have it. How much do I want to sell? Is there a profit? And what is the profit I intend to have? And thirdly, how do I need to collect my money? If you have a business model that has accounts receivable, so somebody will get your service and they don't pay immediately. Those 3 things in the financial model, in the financial pillar, in the customer/stakeholder management pillar, who are my customers? Who are the people who I'm going to deliver value to that will give me that revenue that I want? Who are my customers? How am I going to reach them? What do I want them to think of me? That's where branding and marketing and all of that comes in. But you need to think through it. How do I want them to see this business? Which then goes back to even you as the leader of the business. How are you being? Because that shapes the image of the business. So the second pillar of stakeholders could be regulators. If you work in an industry that is regulators, how do you want them to see you? Your customers, how do you want to see me? If you have investors, how do you want them to see you? What do you need to do for them to see you in a way that enables you to achieve that revenue objective that you have, the financial pillar? The third pillar is now your operations. What are the things you need to do very well? What are the things you need to do? Is it about how you write to people? Is it about the reporting that you do? The operational part of the business. What are those things? So it's not everything that you need to write as a goal, but the ones you need to be super, super good at. What does that mean? And how will you measure? How will you know you are good at it? So the internal operations, the internal aspects of reporting, your approach to doing the business. Then the 4th pillar is the people. Who are the people of this business? Whether it's you and your business partner, whether it's you and your team, and what are the things that those people need to be good at and need to be improved at so that they, through the internal operations and working with the stakeholders and customers, you can achieve your financial objectives. So you see how it all connects. But it's something that takes time. You need to put time aside and think through it. The first time you do it, it won't rock. It won't be good. But once you establish a baseline, what happens is that you know what worked and you know what did not work. But the first thing is to be clear. What do you want to achieve in a particular time space? In a month, in 6 months, in 1 year. You need to be clear. Now, this is important for you as a leader of the business because you then know if you are doing well or not. It's more important for the other people in the business because that is how you will measure if they are doing well or not. So once you are set with the goals, then you cascade. If you are business partners, there's a time in my business, there were only 2 of us. Then there were 3 of us. We had a common objective and everybody had their piece that was derived from that common objective. So there were certain aspects of that, of the corporate objectives that I knew it was not up to me as CEO to do it. I had someone else to do it, but I had to support that person's accountability. Notice I did not say hold the person accountable. Support their accountability such that we achieved that objective. So the moment you have someone, even if all these objectives are in your head, as a coach, I always encourage, put it down because the process of writing it down lets you see. But the moment you have somebody else involved in the business as a stakeholder, whether temp, contract, or permanent, they need to get aligned to what you have set as the objectives. So, Forrest, I don't know if that answers the question in a short, most be clear. Yeah.
I think definitely I couldn't have asked for a kind of better summary. I think first and foremost, I mean, what took away from this is, you have to write down your objectives. Let them be clear, because often when you haven't written these things down, I think it's just wishful thinking, even in your own words, whether it's at an individual level or corporate level. And then make sure you review the same as you go through. Have a regular review periods where you go through checking whether you're making your objectives. You talked about the 4 pillars: financial, customers, operations, and people. And the class will get a summary of what you've said, but again, I couldn't agree with you more. There is one aspect that is coming out clearly here, which is the importance of the leaders of these organizations. And the people we have in this room today, as much as they're a little camera shy, hopefully they'll pick up once we start asking some questions, is that they are all leaders of the organizations. And I want you to kind of reflect on the importance of the leader in ensuring that objectives are set, and there is a process to measure those throughout the life of the organization.
It cannot be overemphasized. So even as a leader, you need to be clear. And your clarity as a leader is only as good as the clarity that your people have. So for many of us as leaders, it's clear in our heads what we want. But you see, that clarity you have in your head is good, but the moment you have a team, the quality of your clarity is determined by the clarity that your people have. So in Etibonum, we have a performance management framework that we have we designed. We share with a number of our customers that has 4 pillars and 12 elements to managing performance. I'll just pick a few of it. The first is what we call clarifying expectations. Because for you, the clarity of your expectations is in your head. Then you set objectives by going through the process of writing, and it's fine for you. When you write it, you review it. If you have a coach, review with your coach to support your clarity, right? But when it's someone else, a team, a business partner, you must start with what we call a clarifying expectations conversation, which is, okay, so it's like, Forrest, you and I, even for this program, when you reached out to me, there was a clarifying expectations conversation we had. What is it? I mean, I didn't even talk about the fact that I'd spoken in BimaLab before, but I asked questions and you gave me clarity as to what you want me to deliver for our friends here. That it's a very essential part of performance. So it's things like, in a strategy session is what we talk about. What's the market, what's the economic factors, what are all of those things, and bring that home to the company. So the moment you want to give somebody objectives, have a clarifying expectations, which is, look, this is my expectation as a leader. And before you have the conversation as a leader, you need to get clear in your head. What do you expect of this person? So like if I do with my team, there are some members of my team who are departmental leads, and my expectation of them in a particular quarter is like, dude, your numbers are good. They are riding okay. They may not even be good. But I say for this quarter, I need you to focus. My expectation is that you develop your people. Your numbers may even suffer. Of course, you're expected to, but this is my expectation of you. And when you have had a clarifying expectations, when the person is able to ask questions and they are able to describe your expectation in their own words. That's kind of like the when it's happened. So it's not just a clarifying expectations is a dialogue. So two monologues do not make a dialogue. And as a leader, when you're talking to people, sometimes with some of my team members they are used to this, I ask them to start. I'm like, okay, Mzee, we have a quarter coming up. Like the conversation I'm having today, Q4, I'm asking my team leads, what's your expectation, knowing what you know about the business, knowing what we have done in 3 quarters, we are going to end Q3. What do you expect your aspect of the business to deliver? I have my expectations, but I want them to start because I'm also developing them to be leaders as well, to be able to lead their department and lead businesses. So they are used to, I've made them they have to think before coming to that conversation. So I'm asking them their expectations of themselves. And you know what I find out? If I had 3 things in mind, most of the time, 2 of those things, they also have the same expectations of themselves. So I need to add 1 more, and then we fine tune. So I'm like, okay, how you are saying you want to focus on these 3 customers. I agree with 2 of them, but this 3rd customer, I happen to know that they don't have the investable funds to buy our service. And it's a useful conversation because we are saying the same thing. Now, once we are done with that clarifying expectations, note, we have not started to set objectives yet. The clarifying expectations conversation is big picture conversation. What do you want to achieve? How do you think this quarter will be? How do you think the year will be? What would you be doing differently at the end of this period? After we've had that, then we can set objectives. Now, setting objectives is a very technical thing. We say setting goals is an art and a science. The scientific part of it is the actual writing of the objectives, and it's very technical. If you guys are taking notes, I'll tell you. There are 3 things to setting an objective. 3 aspects. It's a simple formula. I'll type it in the chat box as well, right? You need to first ask yourself, what is the action? What is the thing that you need to do? Do you need to increase revenue? Do you need to complete a project? That's the action. Action plus object of the action. What are you completing? What are you increasing? What are you reducing? So the action is what are you going to do, plus object of the action, plus now what we call measurement methods, right? And measurement methods, the measurement methods relate to how are you going to measure the action you are doing on the object of the action to know that you have achieved the goal. How will you measure this goal? And what are the measurement methods we have? Timeline is one of them. Quantity is one of them. Quality is one of them, and cost. There are 4 of them. I've dropped it in the chat box. What is the thing you are going to do? What are you going to do it on? And how will you measure that that thing you have done has met the bar of performance? If you use this formula, apart from some of the things you already know, your goals should be SMART as well. In Native Bonum, we say SMARTY. I there means inspirational. So your goal should be specific. Okay, let me even check if I'm being listened to. I guess you guys, most of you know the acronym SMARTY. Please type in the chat box what each of those letters mean. Because I can assure you, every time I do programs, I ask people to do this, there is one that most people mix up. So let's see how you guys will do. If you know the acronym SMARTY about goals, please type in the chat box what S is for specific. I already said that. MAIRT. The I is inspirational. So I've given you 2 out of the 6. Please type in the chat box. So in setting goals, the goals must be SMARTY. And secondly, it should be written with this formula. What is the thing you want to do? What is the thing you want to do it on? And how will you measure? Timeline, how much time do you have to do that action to achieve the objective? What is the quantity of the things? So revenue is money. Money is quantity. Is it $1 million? Is it? So you say, if for instance, raise funding, that's the action, is to raise what? Funding for your business, for business expansion. Now, how will you know that the raise you have raised is enough or is good? What's your criteria for good? That's the quantity. How much money? By when should you raise it? What is the quality of the raise? And now quality is one that is usually discussed. What's the quality of the funding you want to raise? Is it debt? Is it equity? Is it grant? How will you know that this money you have raised is the right money you have raised? You need to determine upfront. That's the quality. And then what should be the cost? How much should it cost you to raise $1 million? So when you set this as your objectives, when you have written it like that, then you can measure yourself and you can measure others. That's the second step in. So it's clarifying expectations, so long as I'm writing these objectives. And then the third step in the first pillar is having performance planning discussions, which is now that we've set the goals, when you have written the goals, you still need to discuss them again. Do we really agree with these measurements? Should it change? Should it be higher? Should it be less? Discuss with the person. And all of this investment of time is required, because once you get it right at the planning stage, the rest is just a question of execution and review and improvement. Execution, review, improvement. So we call it the PERI framework: plan, execute, review, improve. So that's kind of like what I would say is a summary of what you must do when you have a team, and the function of a leader, ensuring that people understand what the goals are, they are equipped to do it, and their accountability is supported. So first, I feel like
thanks very much, Landry.
Yeah, Pazion?
No, not at all. I think you have one answer there from Pazion.
Yes, and Pazion, male or female?
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You are correct. You get 5 points for that. Other people did not respond. You are the only person that I trust is here. You know, these virtual meeting things, people just put on the camera, plan to watch the recording later, and then they go and have coffee. But really good, you got it. It's specific.
You've been in the game for too long, Landry. You've been in the game for too long.
I know these things. I say you cannot scam me.
Okay, so let's move right along. We want to leave some time for the guys to also ask questions. Hopefully they will ask some questions. But before that, we know the importance of the leader in ensuring that the organization is being driven in the right direction. And leaders, as you know, you've been one, you are one. You always feel that, you're kind of always pressed for time. There are too many, competing things. One of the things that I felt, vital, and I want you to comment on this, is finding time for coaching as a leader. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, if I would tell you guys, this journey you are going on or you're about to go on, if there's one thing you should not take for granted, it is being coached. Usually people do not think of sending the MD or the CEO for training, right? MD CEOs, you are the one sending other people on training. You never remember that you need training. And I always tell when I work with executives, I'm like, it's fine. Even if you don't go for training, make sure you have a coach. Coaching for yourself. I mean, what do we do as coaches? I'll tell you simply, we serve as mirrors for you. We serve as your accountability partners. We serve as the voice of reason. So one thing you need, and I guess that's something that BimaLab is doing for you guys, is you need someone that you can sound off all of those things going on in your head. I don't know how much you guys listen to Nigerian music, but there's this, one of our biggest ones right now called Ashake. He has this track that he released that is titled Lonely at the Top. Every time I hear that song, I had a leadership program last week. I made them play it and dance to it. Like Lonely at the Top. That's something you will feel very quickly. I'm blessed because I have a business partner, so it's easy to push things off each other. But that loneliness at the top, how you address it is to have a coach. Because when it cannot be overemphasized. Get a good coach, get a coach that is certified, a coach that also gets coached, a coach that belongs. I'm a board member of International Coaching Federation Nigeria chapter, and the Africa chapter. We partner with ICF in Uganda, Kenya, South Africa. We're helping to birth the one in Ghana. So as coaches who have gone through a process of knowing what they're doing, get one like that. Because it's not that not a coach that is telling you what to do, but that's a mentor, right? You need that as well. You can get a mentor and then get a coach, right? A coach is someone who listens to you to get to understand what's in your head, mirrors it back to you so that you can see what it is that you have in your head. And then based on that mirroring, you can begin to challenge what is in your head. And based on that, you take decisions as to what you are going to do. So you can't know it all, right? This leadership thing is hard. It's hard because imagine you are not the person that has to have an answer for everybody. You are not the person that has to know and understand every situation. You're dealing with accounts receivable. You're dealing with sales. You're dealing with the product itself. You're dealing with new product development. You're dealing with human beings. It's a lot. So it's good to make sure, it's like you must, it's like if you have a car, you keep driving it, and you don't have a time you do maintenance, that car is going to crash. Even your systems. As a leader, you are like that. You need to have the time that you stop and step back from what you are creating or what you have created and get re-energized. That's what coaching does. It cannot be overemphasized. For me, not just because I'm a coach, I also have coaches, not one, and coaching is a conversation. It's a conversation. And you find performance management is a bunch of conversations. So I would say you guys are blessed to have a BimaLab type program, right? For a number of us, I know Forrest knows this. When we started our businesses, we didn't have stuff like this. So we had to bootstrap, we had to learn the hard way. So we quickly got to know how to learn from everybody. You will make tons of mistakes. And you know what? It's okay. You're going to have a bad hire. You're going to have a good hire, right? You're going to have a great hire. And the thing is that when you have a coach, you can talk through this and the person lets you see, because even when you've had a bad hire, it's not failure. There are lessons in it. So you know who not to hire next time. And that's what your coach will help you focus on. Rather than focus on the fact that you hired that person, now they become a problem. For some of us, we struggle with letting people go. The person is not performing. They are not adding value. In fact, they are extracting value from the business. But because you're a nice person, you struggle with letting people go. Sometimes that's what I deal with the executives. It's a simple thing. By keeping that person, not only are you demotivating others, you are leaking away value. So how do you get to the point where you know how to fire and still be a nice person? Some of those things are what you talk through in a coaching program. So it can't be overemphasized. Please make the investment.
Thanks, Landry. I think key points there coming across. And one thing I'd like to kind of just jump on is this whole aspect of, I think it's also human to often, focus on the negative aspect. So you find yourself always thinking of the things that you did wrong or that did not go right. And as a leader, that can have multiple impacts on how you even come across to your team, to your customers. And, at the end of it all, that same machine that you're saying that needs maintenance, you'll end up crashing and not being able to succeed in what you want.
Yeah,
so
I have an interesting illustration
for
that before you land the question, right?
Yeah.
And because this thing, like, being positive, being optimistic as a leader, I can tell you for free, it's your job. Being optimistic is your job. It's a KPI. It's not a nice to have. If you are not optimistic about the business, what do you want the other people to do? It's your job. And this thing of focusing on what you don't have rather than what you have. So my style of coaching is very optimism driven. I'm not saying ignore reality. Reality is reality, right? But it's like, think of, you have a car, some of you have very, very nice vehicles. And when you have the option of buying petrol, you find that you put the cheap petrol, when it's a rental car, you buy the cheapest petrol and put it there because you just want to fill the tank. But if it's your baby, your car that you really like, you buy the best form of petrol. So optimism is kind of like, what are you fueling your engine with? If you're fueling your engine with negative energy, how do you expect that vehicle to perform? Some of you are Formula One fans. Imagine the quality of fuel these guys use for those cars. You are like that. Your business is like that. Because if you are not putting success energy, which means focus on the wins that you have as fuel for driving the business. If you focus on failure energy, why would the car perform well? Sorry to interrupt first. Just wanted to quickly share that analogy.
No, I think it's fantastic. I have another one for you. If any of you guys here ride bicycles or even motorcycles, one of the things that you learn very quickly, if you're riding on an uneven track or something that has some obstacles, you never focus on the obstacle because that's where you'll end up. You have to focus on the path. I hope I haven't dropped out. Landa, are you still there? Okay. Yeah, there I can see you moving now. Yeah. So I hope you heard that. When you're riding a bicycle or any two-wheel vehicle, you have to focus on the path, not the obstacle. If you look at the rock, if you look at the pothole, that's where you'll more likely not end up. And it's something that you learn pretty quickly. So before we go onto the floor, I think, Landa, we are running out a bit short of time, but I wanted you to speak about a couple of things. One, what kind of behavior should these young companies inculcate in their DNA? And then maybe with that also, just give us your parting thoughts around what we have been discussing today. And then we'll go to the floor for questions.
Okay, thank you for that. So there's something I thought about as I was preparing for talking to you guys. It's a practice that I've had since 2001, which is, and for any new business, I think it's essential. So first, set goals, set your corporate objectives, cascade it to departments if there are, cascade it to individuals. Please don't negotiate that, and I'll tell you why. When you bring people on board to your business, right, and even for yourself, don't start by telling people what to do. You have taken your time, you've hired a smart person, right? Allow them to be smart. Give them their objectives, their KPIs. And this is a methodology I use in my business, I share with my customers. Even if the person joins today, the conversation you owe a person is clarifying expectations, setting objectives, and performance planning discussions that I described. After that, you tell the person so now that you know and you understand what is expected of you, what is your plan for next week? You know, usually when you bring people on, you have this onboarding program, right? Don't own the onboarding, let them own it. Give them an onboarding plan. Say, look, for the next 1 month, these are your KPIs, onboarding. You need people to onboard you. So you come and meet with me to do your onboarding meeting. Teach them ownership. And one of the ways we promote this is what we call the weekly review. So in my company, we are a consulting firm. We usually are between 20 to 25 people. Everybody has a weekly review. And what this means is that we encourage you, we mandate you, we demand that you spend some time with yourself on a weekly basis. 1 hour, 2 hours. What are you doing in those 2 hours? Everybody in the company, even if you joined last week, you won't do it well, but you will learn. First, you ask yourself, what did I do last week? What did I do last week? What did I achieve last week? What did I do on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday? The meeting I had on Monday, is there something outstanding? And you will find that this, therefore, means that people must capture how they're using their time somewhere, which is in calendar, you know, like, did I have a meeting? Did I work on a report? How did you spend Monday, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5? Give account. It's an accountability exercise. What did I do on Monday? And what did I achieve? And is there anything pending from my day on Monday? What did I do on Tuesday? So you may not remember, which is why you must block your calendar for not only meetings, but the things you spend time doing. A report. This session I'm having with you is in my calendar. So because you want to be able to look back on a weekly basis. So what did I do on Tuesday? Anything outstanding? Anything I did not complete? And you find that the fact that you are reviewing the week is still fresh. It will trigger things for you. So when you go through your week like that, day by day by day, at the end of that, you will end up with some things. One, the things you did not complete. This prevents you from dropping the ball. As a leader, you have so many things that are going on in your mind, so many things that are calling for your attention. But when you do this religiously, it helps you catch things. So you know the things that you may have left or not completed. The next thing you must do is that, what did I achieve? I spent 1 week working. What are my accomplishments? The challenge is that many of us tend to wait for big accomplishments or when we close the deal. You may not have closed the deal, but you made a presentation. That's an accomplishment. Acknowledge the progress you are making. I encourage that every week you should find at least 3 accomplishments. Every week, 3 things you accomplished. That you had a safe travel for a meeting is an accomplishment. That you got to meet 2 new, it's an accomplishment. So if you can't find big one, look for small ones, but capture, write it down. The 3 accomplishments from last week after you have reviewed last week. Now, when you have accomplishments and the tasks that have come out of you reviewing the week, the next thing you do is look at your objectives, your goals, your KPIs. Look at them every week. Look at them. You may know them offhand, but look again. What are you looking for when you do this? You are looking for, okay, so I have this financial, the 4 pillars. What is key and important for me to do this coming week? What must I do amongst my goals this coming week? Because if you don't do that, you're going to spend your time just doing the things you didn't complete last week or putting out fires. But you're going to measure yourself by these goals you have set. So look at your goals and ask yourself, okay, here's my financial pillar. Revenue, am I on track or am I off track? Oh, I'm on track, yay, something to celebrate. I'm off track, what do I do? I'm on track, yay, what do I do next? So you look at each one and you are capturing tasks from looking at and don't look at just one pillar, look at all the 4 pillars and capture tasks that you have decided that in the next 1 week, I need to do this to move this thing forward. If you keep doing this, what you notice is that there are certain aspects of your objectives that you do well, and there are some you may have ignored and forgotten. So this serves as a reminder. If you don't look at it every week, at least look at it every 2 weeks at a minimum. Look at your goals. Now, at the end of looking at your goals, so now remember, you have looked at your last week, you have captured the task you may have left undone. You have also captured the things you have achieved. You have looked at your goals, you have captured the things that you feel are important for you to do. Now you have this list of tasks. What you do then is look at your calendar for next week. What are the meetings already scheduled in the calendar? Are those meetings connected to any of these tasks? In which case, okay, you know that that meeting is going to take care of this task. Cross those out. How much time do I have left after I have done all these meetings that were pre-scheduled? What time do I have left? What is most important among this list of things that I need to block my calendar to do? So you want to read up on something. How long will it take me to read? 1 hour. Which day is best for me to read now? Mondays are busy. Let me read on Wednesday between 4 and 5. You block the time. Go to your calendar, block it and say, read something term sheet. That way you are planning your week based on what? The things you did not do last week, your goals. And when I say review your objectives, please, as leaders, always have your personal objectives as well, not just your business objectives. Otherwise, you struggle with balance. Your personal objectives should also be part of when you review your objectives and you have captured tasks from there. Now, when you have now planned your week based on these things, you then need to do one final thing. What are your 3 intentions for next week? What you're saying is that whatever happens, these 3 things, I want to accomplish them next week. It's a summary of this. Look at all the things you have to do. Don't look at activity. Look at results. That's the tip. What result do I want to generate in this upcoming week? 3, capture them. So write this thing down. So now you've planned your week. You've celebrated what you achieved in the past, and you are clear on your intentions, knowing that you have looked at all your objectives, the things that are important to you, whether business or personal, and then identify 3 things. When you do that, you have done what we call a weekly review. If you have a business partner or you have an accountability partner, share it with them. So in my business, everybody shares that. What I've learned that is done for me, I have a lot of young people, Gen Z, that work with me. Their smartness comes through in that. Nobody's telling them what to do. They have planned what they want to do. When their manager sees their plan, then as a manager, you can correct and say, you know what, maybe you should prioritize this over that. But don't be the one prioritizing, or you make people mentally lazy. Let them come up with a plan. Let me tell you the secret of this system, right? If every week of the year you have 3 things you have accomplished, guess how many things you would have accomplished in a month? Guess how many things you have accomplished in a quarter? Guess how many things you have accomplished in a year? Documented accomplishments. You can always go back to them. Those times when things are tough, you go back and say, well, I achieved this, I achieved this, I achieved this. And that's what keeps your eye away from the things you have not achieved. It keeps you focused on the things you achieved. The other beauty is this: next week, when you want to do the same exercise, where do you start from? Your intentions for the week. If you achieve them, it becomes an accomplishment. So the same intention you set last week, when you achieve it, you convert it to an accomplishment for that week. If you did not achieve it, it becomes a task that you want to work on. You start to notice things. If for 6 weeks you have been carrying over the same task, the same thing, it's time to ask yourself, maybe you just don't want to do it. Anyway, so that's one key thing I will leave with, and that will be my parting shot, right? Promote, sustain, encourage accountability in your team. Start with yourself. I do this weekly review. I've been doing it since 2001. I've not stopped. Very important part of my life. And as the MD CEO of the company, I do the same thing. We are before 8 a.m. on Monday morning, everybody must submit that to the entire company. I do mine. I cannot go to sleep on Sunday if I haven't done it. So that's something that as a leader, you have to pick certain things in your business that you will not compromise. You will always do. And that way you can demand it that people do it. So don't be that leader who's like, that's not for me because I'm CEO. There is not everything you are going to do. You're not going to be the one to arrange the room or no, that's it. But there must be certain things that you do and then you demand of others to do. So you use that to teach them leadership.
Thanks. Thank you, Landry. So I know we are just right on time. We wanted to open up the floor for questions. Excuse me. There's a question that Pazion had put on the chat, but I'm struggling to make sense of the question. I don't know if you can read it, Landry. But meanwhile, any questions, just put your hand up or unmute your mic and ask the question, or type in the chat.
I think we can start with discussing Pazion's question. Pazion, where are you?
Okay.
Just now?
He left. He had to leave. He said that he had to drop off.
Okay.
But I mean, the call is being recorded, so he will see it.
So for a CEO to balance the need for firmness and decisiveness in decision-making with the need for agility and flexibility in the face of anticipated national challenges and the moving deadline paradox. So the first thing is to understand what exactly is flexibility, right? If you think about something being flexible, looking for a piece of paper. Okay, I think I can use this. If you say something is flexible, flexible things are always anchored on something. This is flexibility. This is not flexibility, that the thing is just floating all over the place. That's not flexibility. Flexibility means there's an anchor and then there's a movement. Those anchors. So in terms of being decisive, you need to understand what are the things you will not negotiate, right? You want to be firm and decisive. First, get clarity on the things that are fixed. Then flexibility is that there are certain things that are not fixed. So national challenges, moving deadline, we are in a VUCA world, even we are beyond VUCA now, things are changing. Yes, things are changing, but your value of serving your customers is not going to change. That's fixed. Your approach to serving your customers can change. So it's like, you guys, some of you are in InsurTech. Insurance typically before was go insurance salesman, talks to people, convinces them. Now you are making people sell insurance to themselves, right? So, but that a customer is happy, that a customer is satisfied, that's fixed. How we get the customer satisfied, that's flexible. That's what I'll say. So challenges will come. If there are no challenges, there will be no need for solutions. If there are no challenges, some of these businesses you are setting up will not be needed. So celebrate the challenges you have, because that's where opportunity comes from. Moving deadline in terms of things like this, things are changing so much. The world is changing, but you know what? It's not new. The world has always changed. It's always been changing, and it will change. It's about how you react to the change. I'm sure you've heard that before, but flexibility does not mean not having an anchor. You have to be anchored on certain things. We will satisfy our customers. We will not lie to our customers. There are those things, values, your value system. So that'll be my answer to Pazion.
Thank you, Landry. Any other questions? I don't see anything typed up.
Richard is raising his hand. Richard,
Richard, please go ahead.
You can put on your camera.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I'm driving at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, Gideon. Okay.
Yeah.
Richard, you can hold on. Yes, Gideon, go on.
Okay, so you made mention of being lonely at the top.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do as a founder or a CEO when you find yourself in such a situation, and also as in being in such a situation, and what are some of the addressable issues that may lead you to being lonely at the top?
So being lonely at the top is about, you are the owner of this vision as a founder. You are the owner of the vision. One of the ways to reduce your loneliness is to find other people to share the vision with. In fact, your vision, when we say the way your leadership manifests is that you need to be visionary. Your vision is not a vision until somebody else catches it.
Catches it.
It's not a vision yet. It's an idea. It can be a great idea. But what makes it a vision is that you have seen it, you have communicated it to someone else who catches it, and they are willing to run with that vision, even if you say you are not going. That's the true test of a vision. So to reduce that loneliness, have other people you have shared the vision with. They could be family, they could be friends, they could be business partners, they could be stakeholders, but also important to have a coach. Any coach will ask you that, like, what are your objectives? When you have other people you've shared that burden of the vision with, it reduces the loneliness. But if you are the only one that's just had in your head, you're lonely. The concept of being lonely at the top is that you are the only one feeling the pinch, the problems. It's you that it's hitting, because this business is your baby. That's why you find founders, they find it very hard to let go. It's like your child. So it's lonely in that term, but have other people. I celebrate when I have colleagues who get the vision of the company and they make HC Bonham their own. And I see them, you find that they come up with ideas that have gone beyond what you were even thinking. That's when you know they've got the vision. So loneliness, have conversations. Don't keep it to yourself. Have people that either you are paying them to have conversations with them, which are coaches, mentors, which you don't need to pay, some friends who share your vision, have people that you can just talk to about this thing. That's how you reduce the loneliness. Join networks, groups like this one, where you listen to other people and you see that, oh, so it's not only me that is dealing with this thing, right? Some of us, people like Forrest here, when we get together, we still compare notes. We remember back in the day when we used to dream about all of these things. We compare challenges in the past. So then we also compare challenges we are dealing with today. So build great and effective relationships. Not just that they're good, effective, which means they support you in achieving your results.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Thanks, Gideon.
Richard,
you had a question?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Landry, for the nice tips. I think the weekly review was a nice one, so will put that in motion. My question's about what you mentioned about your team being made up of Gen Zs, and that's one of the things we are struggling with. As an InsurTech, we have most of our developers, of course, are within that age group. And productivity and retention is one of the biggest things that we are facing right now. Right? If some will insist they only work well during the night, and at night, of course, we are closed. Some will insist they do it during the day. There's also the challenge of course, keeping them so that they can also share in your dream, grow with you. How do you handle these challenges?
So thank you, Richard. I mean, that's a challenge that we're all dealing with. But if you notice, I see it as a challenge. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's a challenge, right? So a few things that my business partner and I have done in HC Bonham is the first one I described for you. So I think I'm Gen Z at heart, right? I think that being Gen Z, I tell people, make sure you're not listening to all the negative narratives about Gen Zs. They said the same about baby boomers. They said all the generations have always had a bad rap. I think they get the most rap. But imagine, look at these young people, right? Some of them are fearless. The things that you have seen that has made you be a bit careful, they're not. So the key things, I'll go straight to it. I allow them to think. I allow them to think. I like to challenge them, right? I make them and see that I do understand them. I do understand the misconceptions people have about them, but I allow them to think. I challenge them to think. I give them, I find that they like it. That's why the model I just described to you, whenever anybody joins this company, we have a clarifying expectations conversation. We set your KPIs with you. We ensure you understand it. Some of them struggled. The first week, we're like, yeah, where's your week in view report? Where's your plan for the week? And they're like, no, that my manager hasn't told me. No, your manager isn't going to tell you. These are the things you do. Look to your onboarding plan and create your plan for the week. Of course, the first few weeks, what they are writing is crap. Excuse my French, it doesn't make sense, but it's okay. The important thing is they know they have to think of what they need to do. So that's one way. So I would say I respect them because I know they are talented. I allow them to take decisions about what they do. But sometimes the struggle is when they don't know and you're trying to tell them and they don't want to listen. Now that's a struggle, which at the point I tell them it's not because I'm older than you, it's because I have more capability in this area than you do. Because what they don't like is when age is the only thing you bring to the table. No, I don't bring only age to the table. I let them know I have more capability in this thing than you do. And if they argue, I bring up one or two examples that they don't know about, and they're going to, I'm like, that's it. That's why you should listen to me while I listen to you. In terms of retention, that is a big one. You know, in Africa, that we are competing against people that we can't really compete with. We are like David and Goliath, right? But, you know, David can still perform some magic. So what I would say is retention, our retention strategy is to be open, is to promote the culture of friendliness, culture of performance, culture of conversations. That's what we do, the culture. People generally tend to leave their managers, not the company. So if you are the manager, or make sure you have managed the manager well, to allow, you know, sometimes being vulnerable is what makes people happy. Don't say because you're a manager, therefore you are a rock star. No, guys, I'm struggling with this as well. It does not mean self-depreciation or deprecating. I don't know what that word is. No, that's what I'm saying. Being vulnerable is not self-deprecating. It's like, oh, I'm struggling with this. Even though sometimes I know the thing, it comes up and I pretend like I don't know. I'm like, who knows this thing? This customer is asking for that. And I see how they jump at it. So retention, I would say be open, have conversations with them. We cannot, I don't know if it's happening in other countries on the continent, I guess it is, this drive to go to Canada, right, to migrate. So I tell all my young people, I cannot compete against Canada. I can't. But what I can do are these things I'm doing. I make sure you have good manager. I make sure you are able to use your brain. I make sure you have free time, and I make sure you are paid commensurately. So the ones who want to work at night in my office, well, it's okay to work at night, but you have to be there to make sure that the thing you have produced contributes to what it's supposed to produce to. That's all I demand. So if it's an engineering thing, I tell some of my engineering customers, does it matter if this guy does it during the day or during the night? What matters is that you plug it in and it works. So that's my take about that, how to manage the Gen Zs. But talent retention, fix the culture. Of course, you fix the culture and you see them still go for money or for brand or for whatever, they still leave. Be okay with that. Be okay with it and start looking for the next one.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's only that you end up in a roller coaster of trying to train and retrain. Yeah, so, but thanks for sharing.
That's the challenge. That's the challenge. You're training and retraining. So I think that each one of us in business today have to be trainers. So instead of training one, train two. Train two. Instead of training three, train five. When they know, and of the 5 that don't have jobs, they may actually be the extra that you train may actually be the ones who leave, right? Train another one. You have to weave into your work people getting trained, because that's about the only way you can't compete against Canada. You can't win, but you can win by giving them those things, a good environment, ability for them to use their brain, stuff like that.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Landre. So we are officially out of time. I would like to just take this opportunity, Landre, just to thank you, sincerely for the fantastic conversation. Everybody here will agree with me. And yeah, just to wish you that in HC Bonham and the rest of your career. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, sure, of course. I'll be over shortly in Nairobi.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice day. All the best.
Thank you, everyone.
Your journeys. And, yeah.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care and have a good evening. Bye-bye.